Hey, this is Tyler Link here, and in today's video, I actually was asked to present in front of a room of business owners doing anywhere from about $1 million to about $7 million in revenue on how I was able to double my sales without getting basically more salespeople and spending more on marketing. So I recorded that presentation and I wanted to share that for you guys here on YouTube. And then lastly, because this was a presentation in person and they had like terrible AC there, basically the audio is not super great, but I think you guys are gonna really like the video, so stay tuned. Alright, so like I said, today we're going to be talking all about how I use sales and marketing automation to double my sales inside my concrete company. So I'm going to talk about sales and marketing automation in general, but I'm just going to be like sharing my experience with it, because as you guys are about to find out, I'm not a tech person, I'm not like some crazy guru, I didn't do anything special. I just used this and it ended up doubling my sales. But I think the cool thing is I did it, and that was without hiring more costly salespeople and spending more on marketing. So as we kind of get into it, what I was originally going to talk about was more marketing. And actually, Kim and I sat down and I was like, man, how am I going to do this, right? We have a furniture procurement, we have restaurants, we have e-commerce, we have custom builders, we got windows, we got in-person masterminds. And a marketing strategy for each of those businesses would be totally different. It's just totally different. But then I thought about it, and what Kim suggested is one of the things that really helped me in my own business, and now I help dozens of people all across the US, I think over a couple hundred now in total, is sales and marketing automation. And the way that I like to think about it is how I discovered this in my own business when I first got started. So I started my concrete company back in 2018. So this was about 3 years into it. And I don't know why, when I first started in concrete, I was like, you hear big price tags, you're like, oh man, I could go sell a $10,000 patio, I'm gonna make a ton of money. But then you learn very quickly that competitive businesses, there's really not much money to be made. So when I was first getting started, we were doing a lot of revenue, not very much in profitability, and I was really struggling. So I started basically scouring the internet. How can I become more efficient, right? So either you could have to like raise prices, or you could just become a more efficient business. And what I like, because now that I'm helping people with marketing all across the US, before we even turn on leads, because we don't want to basically try to make a boat that has holes in it, get a ton more leads, essentially. So what we're gonna be talking about today is how to firm up your boat so it doesn't have holes. So that way when you do turn on marketing, it goes a lot more efficient, and you can actually outperform your competitors because of the efficiencies that it generates. So yeah, where I started in Caesars Concrete. That was only 6 years ago, which is kind of crazy. We are doing about $4 million in revenue right now. And so we've grown that exceptionally fast. I would say that what I'm about to teach you guys today was a huge part of that. And as a branch off of Caesars Concrete, I actually just started NoCo Lighting, which is funny to have NoCo Custom Homes in here today. But that is a permanent lighting business that is a DBA of Caesars Concrete, basically to solve our seasonality. And then I have Contractor CEO, which I have helped hundreds of business owners implement, specifically concrete contractors, implement this sales automation tool into their business. So my goal at the end of this, I want you to understand the importance of sales automation. I want you to know how to document a perfect and repeatable sales process. And I want you to know and leverage the technology to basically be able to make repeatable sales. So I have kind of a cool story for you guys, is how I actually got into this whole thing. So very similar to NoCo Custom Homes, we say a lot of contractors fail because they're contractors and then they turn into business owners and they don't know what they're doing on the business side. So actually where I got my start is I actually worked for a local marketing agency. If you guys have ever heard of them, Marketing 360, Madwire. They have like a couple hundred employees, and I was actually a sales rep there. And the reason why I put a picture of the yellow pages on here is I was working for them, I think back in like 2015, and the number one thing that I noticed that most contractors would say when they would call me, some of them said, hey, I've been in business for 20, 30 years, and we've done really well, and all of a sudden I'm not making a ton of sales. And I was like, well, tell me a little bit about what you're doing. And they said, well, I've always done the same thing. That's why I don't understand. I've been doing the same exact strategy over and over and over, and now all of a sudden it's not performing. So, well, what is it? They're like, well, I'm on the front page of the phone book. And I was like, well, have you heard of this thing called Google, right? And so the thing is, there is a shift happening now, and I think a big shift that's happening now is with sales and marketing automation. I think right now we're in the early stages, so there's a really big opportunity at hand where you can make more money, you can make more sales, you can be more profitable, more efficient. But eventually, this isn't going to be something that you can do. It's going to be something that if you want to compete, you kind of have to do. Kind of like back in 2008, when someone built a website, they did really well. And all their friends were like, why are you building a website? That's stupid, right? But then the early adopters were the ones that were making all the money. So in my opinion, this is a very similar technology because it's going to revolutionize how we all do business. So basically what I talked about right now, it's a huge opportunity. But the future is, if you don't do it, it's going to be another story like you were not using this and it was like being on the phone book and not wondering why you're not getting calls, right? Same thing. So by the end of this, the 3 takeaways: why sales automations are a must, how to script and set up your sales process in under 15 minutes, and affordable technologies that make this so easy that even your dad can do it. So, what's that?
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know, I had grandpa and I changed it to dad, so I did take it out of it. So I did try to under promise a little bit. So, why are sales automations a must? So like I said, a lot of people when they're trying to grow their business, I get the same thing as a marketing agency all the time. They say, Tyler, how do I get more leads? And I say, well, that's a great question, but before we worry about getting leads, how do you nurture your leads? Because I think a big part of this, right, and something that I just want to briefly talk about, and I'm sure you guys have all heard this, so I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we get told all the time how lead nurture is very important. One of the things is speed to lead, right? So this was a study done by Harvard Business School, and they studied 1.25 million sales leads received by 29 B2C and B2B companies. And this was their findings that if US firms that try to contact potential customers within an hour received a query, they were nearly 7 times as likely to basically have a conversation with that lead. Meaning that if you wait over an hour to contact someone, now all of a sudden your chance of contacting them, qualifying them dropped by 7 times. And they said that if you wait over a day, it's now 60 times is unlikely. So basically, speed to lead is very, very important, right? And we all know that. But this was another cool graphic that I threw up here, just showing human attention span over time. Back in 2000, they said that we had an attention span of 13 seconds. And 2015 was 8 seconds. And now that we have all the TikTokers in the room, we have 3 to 5 second attention spans. So people want results very fast. They don't want to wait for brands. They don't want us to wait to hear back from us when they reach out to us for help, right? So this was the old way, right? Basically, and a lot of brands, what they do is you fill out a contact form, and then right on the next page, what do they say? We'll get back to you as soon as possible. You don't know what that's going to be, etc. So most likely you keep shopping, right? People do not want to wait. And we could say, we could even say in here, right? We're all great business owners, and we never drop the ball. We never don't get back to people right away. Well, unfortunately, as humans, we all have to sleep, right? So there's still tons of times in the day when people try to contact us and we're literally not available because we're just not there, right? Or we're sleeping or we're out of the office. So what if, in a new way, that I'm about to show you guys, you could guaranteed follow up with each lead, whether it's from social media, website forums, phone calls, etc., within 1 minute. Well, now all of a sudden when you're getting leads, right, you have a 7 times higher likelihood to contact them because we're able to respond literally right away, which I'm gonna show you guys. And here was another thing that I pulled up some cool stats on follow-ups. So according to HubSpot, follow-up emails increase the chance of responses by 11%. According to the Direct Marketing Association, follow-up campaigns can generate up to 4 times more responses compared to the initial outreach. A study of Yesware found that 70% of sales emails require a follow-up email to reply. So if you're just sending one and expecting a reply, probably not going to happen. And Salesforce claims that 80% of sales require at least 5 follow-up attempts after the initial contact before a sale is made. And lastly, according to LinkedIn, 66% of buyers would prefer to get contacted through email or text through their follow-up, but we all know salespeople, you find one lane that you're very comfortable in, and you stick to that. If you really like phone calls, you call it. Well, some people want to be texted, some people want to be emailed, some people want to be messaged on Facebook. So how do we manage that as business owners with all of these different channels, right? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So we all know how powerful this is, right? This isn't the first presentation that you guys are hearing, that you need to get back to people right away, you need to follow up. So why don't we do that? So
I lose the handle.
Lose a handle?
Like I sometimes just don't follow up. Like I might follow up once, but then that
you get too busy.
Too busy.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
All very human things, right? That's very normal from really any business. I'm in following up the old way, right? You got chaotic CRMs, have to sit through countless leads and decide which ones are the hottest, right? So maybe we have a list of 2,000 leads, but how do you decide which ones to call and when and what time and what state of the pipeline they are? It's very, very overwhelming, right? Maybe you're gonna have multiple channels of communication. You have email threads and text threads, and you have social media stuff, you have social media comments. And that's really the real reason that a lot of business owners don't do it. I mean, it's not like it's easy, right? If it was easy, then everyone would do it. And so that's what I'm trying to solve with you guys today. So follow up the new way. This is just a sample, but we're actually gonna dive into the software here in a little bit. And this is, I think, what made it so powerful, at least for me when I was using it, is one, it happens 24/7. I don't depend on someone like a salesperson or an office person to answer the phone or get back. It's a very repeatable process, and the software does not make mistakes. And another thing is it delivers a consistent customer experience, which I think is very important, right? Because maybe one time you're on the ball, the customer's gonna love you, and then the next time they recommend a friend, they're gonna call in a week, and now you're really busy, and you can't deliver that same experience, right? And so you're gonna really do well in the good times, but hurt in the busy times. Make more sales, and at the end of the day, it's a lot cheaper to have a software doing this stuff for you than paying a sales guy that makes $80,000 a year, which is $300 a day, to do 50 follow-ups. That's like $5 a follow-up versus my system is 1 penny per follow-up, and they can do a lot more, right? So, what happened to me when I did this? So, this was just an example of some of the numbers. So, if I got 100 leads, okay, I said that I would try to call them 2 to 3 times, which is probably an overstatement. I surely did not do that. From that, I got 60 sales appointments, or booked sales appointments, but maybe in the meantime, from the time that I booked the sales appointment to actually doing the sales appointment, I lost a couple along the way because I only had one manual reminder. After the sales appointment, I said I was gonna try to follow up 7 times. That didn't happen, right? 10 sales, 1 review, 1 repeat buyer. And the worst part is you gotta do all this manual. And so when I switched to doing the automated follow-up, this was the new way, right? One is I had a lot less manual reach outs, so I actually had to spend about half the amount of time that I was spending with each individual customer. But on top of that, because I pre-programmed everything and I choreographed the perfect sales process, now I was getting better results. I was getting more people to book sales appointments because I was getting back to them right away, kind of like that Harvard study that we just showed. I was getting more of them to actually show up for their appointment because I was reminding them about it and sending them with great sales material ahead of time. I was getting them excited. And due to that, I was making more sales, getting more reviews, more repeat buyers, etc. And the best part is, it was, at the end of the day, cheaper to do as well, right? So, in summary, make sales processes easier and repeatable. It does not replace salespeople, so I'm not saying to just fire your sales staff and this is going to do everything for them. What it's really meant to do is give people a tool and technology to make them more efficient and more productive. And because it increases sales percentages, you can afford to spend more on marketing, right? So a lot of you guys know, I think I've told you guys, my brand spends a lot on marketing, and the reason that I can out-market my competitors is because my lead cost can be twice as expensive as theirs can because I'm selling more on the back end. I have a more efficient sales process. So that's what's so nice is when you can nail this, now all of a sudden it opens up the doors to a whole new world of possibility. Right? Does anyone know who this guy is?
Caesar?
No. No, that's not me. No. Okay, I'll show you guys. You guys know who this guy is?
Yeah.
Okay, Nikola Jokic.
Oh.
Yeah, MVP of the NBA for 3 seasons. You know, unless you watch basketball, but this was Nikola Jokic as a kid. Fat, not athletic, etc. Not that Jokic is super athletic now, but one of the reasons why I put him up here and why I'm tying it to this is you don't have to be a tech person, you don't have to be incredibly smart or gifted to implement this system. You just have to take the time to set it up, right? So I just thought it was kind of a cool thing, because if you guys have ever seen Nikola Jokic play, he's probably the most awkward NBA player you'll ever see. Like, he absolutely dominates people mainly because of his smarts, not due to his athleticism. So I think that's pretty comparable. So number 1, hopefully, at this point, if I've done my job, I wanted to at least demonstrate to you guys why doing sales automations is so powerful. Why fixing the holes in your leaky buckets or your leaky boat is important before you spend money on marketing, because you don't want to waste money on marketing. So, before we move on, do you guys have questions or comments? And we're about to get into the fun stuff, the actual interactive stuff. We're going to build a sales automation right now.
I think I'm good. I'm excited to see like when I'm shopping for concrete, I'm kind of ready to buy concrete. You know, with like local think tank, I might not even know what that is or things like that. So it feels like a little different, but
well, we're about to experiment with it with logo, so I'm excited. So let's just move in. So the very first thing that I want to document, because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys don't have what you would consider an automated sales system in place, do you?
No.
Okay, so that's why I wanted to use you guys again, because you have multiple team members here. So I figured what we're going to do is build it. What we're actually going to do to start is we're actually going to come up with all different stages of a sales process. So for instance, let me show you mine, and then...
To clarify, we are using Monday.com. It does have automations. We've got some things, like if somebody registers for a free thing or whatever, they get a thanks for registering. So there's a teensy bit.
Right.
But it's mostly lots of leads and little process.
So if we were to think about your process think about from the process that someone talks to you to the time that someone buys from you, what are all the steps that they go through? Like for instance, for me here at my concrete company, number one is, say for instance, if someone fills out a form on my website, right away is I send them to a booking page to book a meeting with my estimator virtually, right? So this is what our booking page is. So what happens for you guys? You guys get a new lead and then what happens?
Typically they meet with me soon, early.
Okay.
You know, we send them even my calendar booking link.
So you could write step one as new lead.
It's a big one.
Yes.
And we'll keep it nice and simple for the demonstration, but you guys will kind of see how we can expand it over time. So step one is new lead. And then after that, the goal is once we get a lead, the very first stage or the very first thing that we have to conquer is booking a meeting to Kurt.
Yep.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, wouldn't you want to qualify that lead first? Make sure that they even, to your point, if they know concrete, they know what concrete is. They don't even know necessarily what logo is. Hopefully they've done research.
I'm assuming that's what that meeting is for, correct?
Yeah, there's some of that. And, you know, yes, I meet with a lot of people that aren't yet qualified. You know, their business hasn't developed to that point, or they're just kind of annoying. I've always just kind of had a philosophy of meet with anybody I can and add as much value to their conversation as I can, even if they aren't ready yet for loco.
Okay.
So step two is book meeting?
Yeah, book meeting with Kurt. And is that a qualification meeting or is that like a sales meeting?
Both. I call myself kind of the business developer and gatekeeper.
Okay.
So it's like sometimes I'll tell them about logo and stuff and not invite them to move forward. But if we decide together that they should move forward, then we get an application.
Sure.
So I'm kind of, and because of my experience in banking and stuff and just people, I'm kind of evaluating in that first meeting whether I would want them in one of my chapters, and if so, kind of where, and talking with them about, okay, this person's chapter has these people in it, there's no direct competitors, but these two companies are kind of adjacent, you might benefit from that.
Right.
Okay. Let's talk together about where you might fit.
Sure.
And if you agree and I agree, then here's the application.
Okay. So sounds good. So they meet with you, and then from there, then what happens?
Fill an application.
Fill out an application.
Yep. So like that, after I meet with somebody,
It's either
like there's
it's like either
there could be an
or
automation, yeah, for yes, we like them, make sure the application link is sent to them, no, we post them.
Okay, so step two is application.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and then the step, once we have the application, then I send it to the facilitator that we think they fit with.
Okay.
So in this case, that would be Kim.
So step four is facilitator. So let's just pause there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea, right? So when we're building this, we start with all of the stages. And then within each stage, the goal, if you think of an automated sales pipeline, all we're trying to do is move people from one step to the next, right? So what we're trying to do, because if you think about a business, and again, kind of like that example that I gave, and I'll bring it back up here, is at the end of the day, we don't have to make monumental improvements with each step to double your sales.
Yeah.
If we get a 5 to 10% improvement of moving people from a new lead to meeting with Kurt, and then another 5 to 10% improvement going from meeting with Kurt to the application, and then so on and so forth, you continue that through the sales pipeline, and before you know it, is double the sales. So that's what we're gonna kind of talk about. So now, what we did is I built Loco, a little cool sign on into my software. This is just go high level, and we'll talk about that at the end of the questions. But I built you guys a little login, and so I think I actually did, let's see here, opportunities. So I built you guys a little fake pipeline, and I had a suspicion, I call it logo.
So go.
Yeah, so in our logo pipeline, we got new lead not scheduled, quick 20-minute call. I threw in
That might be better, it's not what we're doing.
that way you're not,
Better.
yeah, and then that way you can automatically book it, because we can't automatically book Kurt in Fort Collins and then someone 20 minutes after registers and they want to meet with you in Longmont. It's not possible, right? And we're trying to make this convenient for your leads.
Yep.
So this is kind of what I did when I went with Kurt, when I went with facilitator, when I was trying to be nurture. So now what we have, and we have a little sales pipeline, okay? So now we have a pipeline where we're going to organize a lead into each individual bucket where they're in the pipeline. But now let's talk about, okay, how do we actually get someone from new lead to quick 20-minute qualification call? Okay, so let's actually build that out together right now. So I started a new lead, no appointment automation, and this is gonna be pretty easy. So ideally, as soon as someone fills out a form on your website, or they call, or they email, or they do something, what do we learn in class in the Tyler Special today? We want to contact them
1 minute.
fast, right, under a minute. So let's just say if we contact them right away, and do you prefer text, email?
Like
Yeah,
me?
yeah,
To contact them?
yeah, contact them.
I would say I probably do a lot of phone calls, but I'm old school. Email is.
Well, we can't automate a phone call, but what if we automated a voicemail drop?
Yeah.
Okay, and so we could just upload a file, which
Yeah.
obviously we can't do right now.
Hey, it's Kurt at Local Think Tank, saw that you liked, or whatever that action that they did to qualify themselves.
Right.
Lead.
Yep,
Gotcha.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we can have a pre-recorded voicemail that we can send out right away. It's not gonna let me save it because we don't have the voicemail. But let's just say even right away, they're gonna go to a page just like this, right? And so when they fill out an application or a call with you guys, we want to give them that ability to book right there on the spot, right? Because what I've noticed, at least in my concrete company, it probably affects windows or custom homes or whatever. When you're in the shopping mood and you fill out any type of contact form, when you're waiting, you get impatient and you just move on to the next person. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get that person off of the shopping list. We're trying to make them stop shopping because now they have a plan with us. So we're gonna send them to a booking link like this. We're gonna give them under a minute, okay, under a minute, and then maybe we'll shoot them an SMS, okay? And I'm not gonna take the time to fill this out like 100%, but hey, contact first name because it's dynamic. Kurt here, thanks for reaching out. Would love to discuss Loco with you. Use this link to book the time to talk. Okay? And so now I don't have to link because I haven't built you as a custom calendar, but now that's saved, and every single time from now on, they're gonna get a text within 20 seconds of filling out a form.
Could you link to Calendly if you're already using that?
Yeah, you could link that. I personally like the calendar that's inside the software for the reason, let's just say if someone books, so this is oftentimes like one of my big people, they have this huge concern like, oh, well, what happens if they book and now all of a sudden, right? Because what we're gonna do is after that text, we're gonna wait, say 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and we're trying to hit these people multiple times right away. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna send them an email. And we are basically gonna say, book right now, or else, ... Just kidding. Yeah, we're not gonna talk about the email, but you guys know what I mean. You don't wanna keep sending them stuff if they've already booked. So, subject can't be empty, so again, I can't really save that.
And will the software know if somebody booked from that initial SMS and then abort that email?
They will. I'll kind of show you guys how it looks in my Caesar's concrete one, because obviously we're just building one out on the fly right now.
Right.
But let's go to Caesar's concrete. But so I have one automation that I did for the new lead not scheduled, and then I have another one called appointment booked. And this is really cool because as soon as there's what we call triggers in the marketing world, but as soon as someone books, now we have a trigger. That means that, okay, an event has occurred online, and that's gonna trigger this automation.
So not only are we going to start reminding people,
We're gonna get all the internal notifications, we're gonna do the tags, all the basic CRM stuff.
but on top of that, I'm removing from my workflows.
Right? Because I don't want them in other workflows now because I've done the first step. Like step 1 is crossed off. I'm now on step 2, which is our pre-qualification call.
So I want them automatically out of that. So yes,
It is dynamic, and that is like part of how you kind of program all this in.
I think, so one of the things that I wanted to do is I just wanted to show you guys how easy this was to do.
Because at the end of the day, we could build out like a 5 series, and
Actually, I probably shouldn't put it back, but my Caesar's concrete one, I'll show you guys how much that I have.
and the nice part is this all happens on autopilot without me doing anything, without my sales team doing anything.
And a lot of people, another thing that I always kind of get from people is they say, well, Tyler,
Like, I want my salespeople to be involved. Well, do salespeople always remember stuff? No. You know what my salespeople love?
is, let's just say if at the end of day 2, right, we have an internal notification, send internal notification, and I'm gonna send an SMS, and I'm gonna pick my user, my salesperson's name is Anthony. I say, hey Anthony, contact name has not scheduled with you yet. Give them a ring. Here is their number.
And this is something Tyler and I were talking about that I thought was interesting, is like exactly that. Like if you want to call somebody, you can make this remind you to call them so that you don't have to remember. So it's taking work out of your brain, right? And automating it so that you can relax your brain and focus on the zone, right?
Yeah, exactly. We use that a lot in, like for instance, for us, we have a pipeline where
Once we do a qualification call, and how many times do you do a qualification call and someone seems interested, but they're like, man, like,
I call it the Colorado slow baby.
yeah, exactly, right? Like, and so
They
they're,
never say no, and they never say yes.
it's not like they're not interested, they're just not ready to meet with you yet. They're like, oh man, I don't know. And now it's up to you as a salesperson to follow up time in, time out, but it's very hard because I mean, you know, you can do that
and it gets very daunting. So what my sales guy likes, and we do internal
notifications through this whole entire process.
So all we have to do, if I wanted someone into an automation bucket, let's see here, is say for instance, Isabella was a no-show, so now I'm trying to get her to show up, right? But let's just say if I did the call and it was complete, and I want to follow up with her because she didn't want an in-person yet, because I did my qualification call, I'm not going to do it because now this will fire my automation, but that's going to kick off all of the automations that I do in the back end, and it's literally that simple.
Wow.
So it's just about dragging and dropping leads, and so I think that's what I just wanted to demonstrate is, at the end of the day, this is super easy to put together.
So your sales team is logging in and dragging and dropping after they.
Yeah, you can use it on the app, they have an app, etc. All my salespeople are really doing is they're just changing the status, and that's updating. Basically, think about it, a pre-choreographed, like perfect sales pitch every time. Even think about like when they're gonna show up for the pre-qualification call, right? Like, wouldn't it be kind of cool if before the pre-qualification call, you already sent them your reviews, right? Like that's what we do is when I send out an estimate in my concrete business, it's programmed for 3 minutes after we send out the estimate. It says, hey, just send out your estimate. This is Anthony here. Oh, and by the way, check out all our reviews. I'd love to make you our next 5-star review. And so now when they're getting that review, they're also opening up my reviews and they're like, oh, wow, Caesar's Concrete has 84 5-star reviews. They're probably a pretty legit company, right? So when you think about this, it's not just to follow up with your leads. You're also trying to pre-program in that person's mind what you want them to be thinking. Before the qualification call, if they don't know about Loco, maybe 1 hour before, hey, we have a call coming up in 1 hour. I thought you might find this video helpful. This is all about Loco. Get a chance to watch it. We'll talk about it on your call, right? And that happens every single time.
So now I kind of want to leave it up to you guys for questions, thoughts. I could give you the software to go high level, But I really just wanted to show you guys how easy it is to maneuver.
Is this like what would you consider this like a marketing automation software? Would this play with our Monday.com in terms of a project management CRM, or is this like get rid of Monday and put everything in here?
So I view this as a sales automation and marketing automation tool. Monday.com is product management. So I actually say in my marketing company, I use both.
Okay.
I use Monday.com because when someone signs up with me, if they buy a website from me, right, there's so many steps. I gotta verify their domain, I gotta do all this stuff, and that's what Monday.com is good for.
Mm-hmm.
This is good for getting me the sale. Because I'm pre-programming in my sales process, so it happens perfectly every time, and it's taking less time for my sales reps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it does have, I want to show you guys this too, which I thought was cool. Even if you guys wanted to start experimenting with AI, this, in my opinion, is the easiest way to use AI right now, if we could get it to load here.
But what I really like about it is, so you can either send a static text, and when the person texts back, you can just get a notification that they texted back. So you can respond, or your team can respond. It pulls into the dashboard, into the app. Or you could ask the AI to ask the question, and then you could pre-program in based on the person's response and their intent in the direction that you want it to answer.
So, and it's super easy too, it's so easy. So I hope that this loads here. I think the Wi-Fi's a little rough, let's try it again. But yeah, I guess overall, thoughts, questions. I know we have tons of different businesses, so if you're curious about like how you would use this in your guys' business, because it's a little bit different, yeah, give me some feedback and questions.
So the AI stuff, it automatic, I mean, like how do you, if it's super involved, how does it respond? That's the,
What do you mean?
like if they said, oh, I have, this issue in my concrete, I have someone's, typing to this chat. I guess that's what you're
Well, just
saying.
remember that we're building out an automation. This automation is for new leads that haven't booked an appointment.
Okay.
So I'm gonna build out a different bot with a different program depending on the situation. Like for instance, this bot is trying to book an appointment. So this is what I programmed in. You're highly rockstar salesman for local think tank. Here are your objectives. Here are your conversational rules. This is the question that's gonna ask, and it's gonna ask it via SMS, okay? Hey, contact first thing, this is my last time to reach you. I don't want to bother you if you're not interested. Do you want to schedule a time to talk over how local think tank works, or are you not interested anymore? Then what I like about it is if no condition is met, so if this bot waits 1 hour, it's programmed to wait 1 hour. If nothing happens, then it would go to no condition met. And at that point, I can send it to do something else, or I can send it to updates, opportunity. As in, I can send it to long-term lead nurture, so now they're in my long-term emails.
Yeah.
So that's one of the options for the bot. Oh, I should have flipped out of it. Let's just say, if they say yes, then it knows to give the appointment link to the person trying to book. If they say no, then I say, okay, if the person says no or they're not interested anymore, then tell them no worries, thank you very much for your interest, and let us know if you have any other questions in the future. And then I move it to long-term lead nurture, so now they're in my long-term email sequence. And so what you're basically telling the bot to do is decide, is this person responding positively? Let's see here.
Yeah. And if yes, send them the booking link.
Yeah, so if the branch name is yes, the lead does want to book an appointment, then I'm gonna program in sending the booking link. If it's no, the lead is not interested in, then I'm gonna program into this, and we'll just do this here. Because then if it's a no, meaning that they're not interested, no worries. Let us know if we can ever help in the future, right? So you're kind of giving the bot the freedom to decide, is this person saying yes or they say no? If the bot doesn't know, you can tell it to send an internal notification to your staff, right?
Does this also have the ability to, if you had 11,000 contacts or a whole group of members and potential contacts that you want to tell about an event or, something,
Yep.
can you kind of do blastogram sort of stuff to
Like
people
text
that's outside of your main lead tracking?
Oh yeah, I did a text message campaign last month, so I had 4,000 contacts. We ran an end of season promotion, basically 5% off for our concrete. Out of those 4,000, we got 45 leads, and we sold, it was like $140,000 of work from a text message.
So like if you had this whole pipeline of contacts that are already in there, you could do something that's like, yeah, I want to message all these this week and tell them about Pinkerfest.
Yeah, and that's what I love about
all these people about our cinnamon roll challenge, and then you can see what happens.
Yeah, and what I love about it is you could segment the list based on tag, you could segment the list based on opportunity. So say for instance, if you're like, hey, I want to message all of my hot leads that I just had a appointment book up for my windows, that if they schedule, basically the first 2 to schedule are going to get 10% off, and we're going to be able to install your glass in the next week, right? So you can say, I'm going to text all of my hot leads right now, that exact message, and send it out.
Other questions for Tyler?
How long did it take you to build out your first run at this?
I mean, not long. I mean, if you think about it together, we've already built out, there was a couple things that didn't save because I haven't programmed their company's information, but we basically built our first automation in like 5 minutes.
Is that how long it took you to do it your first time?
Great question.
That's a better
That is a good question.
Now, you should ask, how long would it take me?
Dan, I don't know where I put this in my presentation, I totally forget, but my old nickname, seriously, from my friends, was Grandpa. So that's and they called me Grandpa not because I was old, they called me Grandpa because I'm that bad with technology. So it's kind of surreal to me to be up here teaching you guys about AI and follow-up stuff, because I am not a computer person at all. But to answer your question, to learn the software decently, it took me 2 to 3 hours of tutorials, and to build my first couple pipelines, maybe another hour to 2 hours. In one afternoon, I had a couple automations that were pre-built that I felt pretty good about. Yeah. And so now my whole sales pipeline, we have about 50 programmed in messages that go out, and messages, calls, voicemail drops, emails, that all we're really doing is we're just moving people from bucket to bucket as we're moving them along the pipeline.
If you were, if somebody wanted to get started on this on their own, are there tutorials and things that make it easy to figure out? Right?
There is, yeah.
Can you import contact lists, if you have leads already and you get them launched in pretty straightforward?
Yeah, oh yeah. It's all, so within contacts, you can, just import contacts.
Yeah.
Upload a CSV file.
Yeah.
So you can get your whole contact list in.
And drag and drop them around and get it all cleaned up nice.
Yeah, and then email, I can send you guys all out a link for a free 30-day trial to the software.
And did you, when you were starting, did you kind of just start with just start with one thing, right?
I literally
just start with the schedule the appointment type of thing.
That's what I did,
Then
yeah.
you can kind of keep adding and building onto it, so you don't have to go crazy at the beginning.
Oh, no.
Just take one step at a time and take it
When
out.
I first started, I literally just did from step 1 to step 2. It was I just want the people who call me, I want to give them an option to book with me, and I want to bug the crap out of them, or if they haven't booked to me, I want them to book, right? So my first thing that I did, that's all I did, and I loved it. And I ran with that forever. And then over time, my estimator, he's like, hey, do you think that we could do something when I send an estimate? It will remind them that they have it, and then follow up in a week, send a follow up in 2 weeks. Do you think that we could do that? It's oh yeah, I think we could do that. Build that out, and then, so over time, we just discovered the areas that we wanted to build this for, and automate. Yeah, you really only have to start with 1 or 2. Where Alan, for you, obviously there's not too many automations, but you could use it for text message marketing, email marketing. It's a little bit different for restaurants, so sorry, but I'd say the rest of us that have a legit sales process, this is a life changer.
And I think I like what you and I talked about, first, really, talk to your sales team and lay out what is the ideal, right? Like you said, if you sent this, how often would, if you had all the time in the world, how many times would you follow up, and what would that say?
What would you say? What
would that experience be? And then you pick the parts that you can automate and pull out, and it's fine if it's not messaging them, maybe it is messaging your salesperson or yourself with the reminder.
Yeah, it could just be reminders.
Yeah, it's it's time to call this person again.
Yeah. So Tom, if someone calls in and they're asking about a particular solar system and it's very popular, and they get off the phone and they have not bought yet, then your salesperson puts them into an automated follow-up where now we're sending them articles, reviews, all this stuff, and we're dripping that content out over 2 to 3 weeks. How many more sales would you get versus you get that call, someone gets busy, they forget about it, they don't buy. this is what's keeping people top of mind and keeping you as part of that conversation when they get off that phone with you, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about like Facebook or Instagram, like if somebody follows Local Think Tank on Instagram, can that be the initiator of the same kind of thing?
Yeah.
In a different messaging, of course, like, hey, thanks for following us.
Like,
If you'd like to learn more about Loco, here's a link, right, or whatever.
Yeah, like, there is, and I'm just gonna do it in the same automation just to save time, but there is a trigger.
Oh, there was a birthday trigger, I saw that.
Yeah, birthday trigger. So Instagram comment on a post.
Oh, we haven't connected your Facebook page. Why? That's why, because I haven't connected your Facebook page to the software. But I could say, so you could run a promotion. You could say, comment event in the comments, and we'll send you a cool free guide. We'll do this or we'll do that. Now we're gonna turn on this automation, and then now every single time that someone comments that, until you turn off this automation, we're gonna send them something. They're gonna enter into something.
Wow.
So you can do comments, we do messages.
Giveaways would be interesting.
Yeah, so that's what, for my marketing agency side, that's what I'm doing all the time. Jay and I will do a video. I'll make a cool educational video like this. I'll say comment something in the comments. And then when they comment that, I'm sending them like a free guide. I'll say, oh, comment this for a free guide. And then now all of a sudden they're in my world and I'm auto following up and trying to book an appointment. Yes.
How does it track activity? Is that a manual that the salespeople have to be like, I did call them, or like summary of the call, or like how does that?
It has call tracking. Yeah. And what I like about it too, is we're fully tracking like how someone found us, like what happened. See, these are all automated messages, by the way. Like literally since 7 o'clock, we've had what, 20? But I can see how they interacted with me all across the internet, because a lot of times someone will see your ad and they go to a landing page, then they go to your website, and then after that they might read a blog. Like marketing is not one-dimensional. Like they don't just see you and like immediately react. Sometimes they do, but the most efficient marketing, we follow them around. I think even you were just saying that, Tom, like you found us once and now we won't leave you alone on Instagram. Like we're doing that because when it's in your head, like you're probably not ready to buy just then, but we're following people around the internet and tracking them just through a pixel, and you can see even all the different ways that they interact with you. So
Yeah, I mean, if I had concrete work done, of course, I'm gonna have it done by these guys, right?
yeah, it's because you see us
You're so familiar.
and that's actually really cheap. Retargeting is extremely cheap. So that's why I decided to make this presentation about this, because this goal is designed to supercharge your marketing, so when you do marketing, you can magnify your results.
Now, what if I have an inbound phone call? Can it handle, if somebody calls in, can it?
Yeah. It
Whatever,
can.
send texts and.
Oh yeah, it can. And speaking of which, like this is also one of my favorite features is missed call text back, because we very difficult to answer your phone all the time. So enable missed call text back. So even if we miss a call, right, maybe you could do something like this, and you can make this different per number, which I really like too.
Per number, like you can have different numbers on different parts of this, or on Google ads could be different from.
Or if
Yeah.
somebody's trying to call me, it's different than if they try to call Alma.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you can have different numbers for different tracking. Maybe you want one tracking number on, like for me, I have a different number for my driveways than I do my patios, because I know if someone calls this number, I know that came from my driveway campaign.
Got it.
So when you were showing us Frederick's text chain, he said he was a military, so how did the AI bot catch that he wanted to?
That was my office. That wasn't AI, that was my office staff.
Okay, so they would have been, but how would they, if someone inquires about that, how would the bot then know? I mean, like, do you?
Well, that's why one of the conditions is no condition met, and then what you do underneath it is you just say send internal notifications to my office manager.
Okay, and then they would call and say,
Exactly.
yes, we do.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why that bucket is there, because if the AI looks at it and they're like, uh-oh,
What do
I
we
don't
do
know.
with this?
Now it sends an internal notification to my staff because it needs attention.
Yeah,
And either way, my staff is going to see it, but that way the bot stops what it's doing.
yeah,
Essentially,
Right.
you could even pre-program these automations to do stop on response, because a lot of people want that. They say as soon as someone responds, I don't want any more automations. I just want to check and like manually do it from there.
Right.
Which a lot of ours we do that, but. Yeah, this missed call text back I thought was pretty cool. I had this local think tank. We're in a meeting right now, whether they call you back as soon as we can, or you can book a time with our team that's convenient for you here, and then get a booking link. So every time you miss a call,
Yeah.
right, you're capturing that traffic right away.
And like what you said about that shopping experience, like when I need help with something, it's exactly what I do. Like I need an electrician and I just start calling and see who answers first.
Yeah, and that's what I love.
Whoever gets me a quote first, that's probably who I'm
Right, unless it really seems ridiculous. Yep.
Yeah, or at minimum, you're gonna have an appointment with them, right? Because you're like, oh, well, now I don't have to look for people because I have a meeting tomorrow with Caesar's Concrete. I have
Right.
a meeting tomorrow with No Custom Homes, and now they don't have to search anymore because they're like, oh, now my wife can get off my back. I have a plan.
And
Right.
I do feel like more and more consumers don't want to have a phone call. Like they want to interact online. They want it all like very touchless. Like I don't want to have to talk to a person. Like just get me to the next stage. It's
Well, and everyone has different channels, and that's what I like about it is I'm able to interact with someone on whatever channel that they prefer through the software. That's the other cool piece that I like about the software is it integrates with Facebook, Instagram, text, email, all of that. It brings it all into one conversation.
Well, I think I saw you in one of your chains, you had like text them after 2 days, if they haven't responded, email them after 5 days, kind of.
Oh, that's what I'm programming on all.
And then if they respond by text, I assume that the next response then just defaults to text.
It does, but you
Right.
can do that however you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly.
But that kind of is an indicator of that being their preference.
Yeah, that's why for me, I try to text someone, email them, and leave a voicemail drop in like the first 20 minutes of them like because I'm like blasting it all out there and I'm like, hey, what do you prefer?
Right.
Is essentially what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So on your website landing page, you have like a little bot that pops up that I can answer any questions, or do you have a plug-in that you go get a quote and it dumps you into this? How do you dump them from your
Yeah, what is your
landing
website?
page?
Yeah, how do they get in the very top of the funnel for you in this case?
So I have different ones based on different campaigns. I have like a normal website, so that's one way. I have landing pages for my ads. Like if I'm running a driveway ad, I have a driveway specific landing page that I'm sending that traffic to. There are web chat ones, but I actually pay a answering service like a live human just because I still think AI is like, it's this close to being like amazing. I think the AI within an automation, because it's so confined, because if they're asking one question and I'm saying, hey, here are 4 possibilities, and AI can handle that, but if someone is just messaging into a general chat widget, I think it could get a little messy. So I haven't done that. Like I did do that, and the AI is like a little weird in my opinion. It's like it's too broad for it right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So you can, and you can build out. You can actually build out a whole custom GPT bot that is programmed on your website. So like all of your FAQs, all of your information. That did decent, but it still wasn't quite the same.
I think it's still cool. Thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah.
You'll contract with any of us for some consulting.
Sure. That's not the one we want to do, but yeah, I will help you guys. If there's anything I do.
Yeah. Do you, like, so for us, somebody says no, right? But it's like, no, but it's because contact me back at the end of the year or something like that.
Yeah.
Or if they even said, no, I'm not interested, do you like, okay, inactive, we're not gonna contact you again, or do you have a campaign? I'm assuming that's like after X amount of time.
That's what I call long-term lead nurture. So all of my contacts go into that, and you could even pre-program, say for instance, like 52 emails, like a year's worth of content or whatever. So that way, as soon as you put someone into that, you know that they're gonna get like a pre-choreographed, like, hey, check out our podcast, check out this blog, check this out, like, and so you can kind of build it and play with it however you want. I have a couple different ones. So I have long-term lead nurture, which that's more like they're interested, but there's no set timeline. And then I have another one that's called no in-person cold, and that is like a little bit more aggressive, but it's still like, yeah, not. So yeah, that's what we've built out a lot, but you don't need to start with that.
Do you ever have people that like just opt out, like doesn't have capability to like opt somebody out if they're like, don't.
If someone says stop, it auto does
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, which you'll get a lot of that. Like if you text message blasts and stuff, you'll get a lot. Like half the people were like, "Don't bug me," and then it's like, "Okay, D&D." You know, like he just never come, and it's fine.
Yeah.
So that's why you have a little check mark box. Like when someone opts in, you say, "I'm consenting to be," you know, get messages. So, but yeah, as soon as they say stop, it auto disconnects them.
Very cool. Awesome. Any other questions?
And this software is only $97 a month, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, for the amount of stuff that it does, what's that?
Since the bills a month.
97.
Oh, I was like, that's.
But for the amount that you can program in it, it's like, this has been such a, like I said, it literally what it really did is it allowed my salespeople to sell twice as much because it was doing half of their load for them,
Totally.
essentially. And on top of that, it was just more efficient. It was more efficient at booking calls. It was more efficient at follow-up. It was.
Well, I like really what you said, if you get 20 or 30 or 40% more that actually get landed through this
Yeah.
process, well, then you can actually outbid your competition for marketing placement and ads
Yeah.
and different things like that, if it actually works and they don't slip out.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is, whoever can spend the most in marketing will win. So if I can outspend my competition in marketing, I will for sure beat you because I will just be able to be louder than you.
Yeah.
So, and basically how you do that is you could be more efficient in your sales process, you could sell for higher prices. So that's the other reason why I like this stuff is it's gonna make you look so professional and like you know what you're doing, even if you're not doing that much, but it just makes you look more professional. Because they're like, man, I called 5 different home builders or I called 5 different window guys or whatever, you know, and one company, they were like John on the spot, they were checking in with me, they were, you know, making sure I was doing good, and all of the other people, they gave me the quote and I never heard from them again. I mean, it makes you look more premium.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, they can sell more customers and sell them at a higher price. Because it builds value.
Does it take the place of like a MailChimp?
So this integrates with something like a MailChimp. So yeah, it does. That's like it. High level is basically a conglomerate of softwares all programmed into one dashboard. So there's like, you know, there's a software for email that it programs to. It programs in Facebook and Instagram, right? Like programs in all these, and it makes it super easy to use in all one dashboard.
So you have Salesforce, which is plugged into, your CRM is plugged into this, it doesn't take the place of your CRM.
Yeah, I have an operational software, and this is my sales. So that's just how I run it.
So this is your CRM?
Yeah, it's my sales CRM. But then when someone buys from me, then I go to like an industry-specific software.
To do
Like-
invoicing and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Like for the marketing, I use Monday.com. For my concrete business, I use Jobber, which is it's construction software. So we all have industry-specific stuff that we use for operations. This is just to get the sale.
Yeah, cool.
You could use it for operations, but yeah.